I started going no contact with my parents about 2 to 3 years ago, and then
Does anyone else have parents who are like completely uninterested in their lives?
What was your final straw that made you go no contact?
I navigate the world as though my mom passed away.
Nobody tells you how painful it is to mourn a parent while they're still alive. The last time I talked to my dad was 2018, so it's been 6 years now. We had been on and off, no contact in the past, but this time just felt so different. Like, I knew that I had made up my mind and we were never gonna see each other again. Physically, nothing had changed, but mentally, everything had changed. And the grief that I felt was like he had passed away. The people who are seeing this that have had to make that choice, I just want to say you're not alone. It is a very difficult decision to make, and it's also a really necessary one.
has anyone else noticed that when an adult child chooses to not have a relationship with a parent, it's always, but she's your mom, but he's your dad. You only have one dad, you only have one mom. And it's never, wow, what could a parent do to cause their child to make this decision? Or it's never, but they're your children. How could you treat your children that way? Why is it that the responsibility of the relationship is placed on the child?
Does anyone else have parents who are like completely uninterested in their lives? I will go weeks without talking to my mom, months without talking to my dad. This man does not text me, doesn't even know how to work a phone, probably, right? And so on the rare occasion my mom asks me to do something with her, I do, and then we just ride in silence. And I'll say something and she's like, oh. When I tell you, my parents don't even really know what I do for work. My dad thought that I was still a tech. I've been a nurse for a year now. I tell my mom crazy shit that happens to me. Oh, that's it. Like, doesn't even hit me with the damn that's crazy. Not even just a damn. Not even a that's crazy. So am I the only one? I know I'm not. Like, I'm 23 years old. My mom could not give a fuck about my life. I'm real confused. And it's like, you would think that because I moved out, like, you would be, like, extra excited to see me and, like, asking, like, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. Could not give a fuck. Couldn't give a fuck.
I cut my dad out of my life 11 years ago because he is a narcissist. And here's what I've learned both emotionally and mentally. So I have learned that the further I get away from that attachment, because he was my primary caregiver growing up, the more I see things for how they actually are. When I was growing up for 18 years and I had his perspective of the world constantly shown to me, I had his projections on me and gaslighting constantly, that it was really hard to see truly how messed up it was growing up, because it was just my reality. Like, I didn't know any different. And so the longer that I have away from him, the more I realize like what true attachment is. The best thing that I could have ever done with myself is over these last 11 years, I've created healthy attachments with other people, and I've created a healthy attachment with myself and my inner child.
Every single boomer parent who's been cut off by their kids will claim they have no idea why, and that is all about control, which is interesting because how are they controlling you if they have zero contact with you? The control is that they want me to change my behavior. Okay, but if you know what behavior they want you to change, that is the reason. Yes, right there. Every time they say it's about control, they are low-key admitting they know exactly what the issue is. They know what they are supposed to change, but they think because their child is below them in the hierarchy, that their child has to submit to that behavior, and that they are trying to force their child to learn to submit. They think they have risen above the level of having to act right. Because, like, I'm high enough in society now that I don't have to act right. And they think that that is, like, just how things are supposed to be. They don't understand that we just don't think like them.
The parents in my comments who are arguing tooth and nail to defend their ego and to defend their fear, you guys are kind of like the husbands who get divorce papers and feel like it came out of left field, like it came out of nowhere. And I give that analogy because oftentimes you have so many parents who are genuinely surprised that their children have gone no contact. And the amount of attempted conversation it takes to get there, the amount of frustration and emotional outbursts and requests it takes to get there never come out of left field. It never comes out of nowhere. This child has been trying to talk to you probably since early adulthood, because that's when we really start getting brave enough, around our early 20s. That means that for a lot of us, we've been trying to talk to you 10 plus years, and you just refuse to listen. And it's like, oh, you actually don't want to understand me, so I'm not going to try anymore. That's what this is. Does that analogy make sense to you? Can you understand how you sound like a confused husband? And we all know there is no wife that does anything out of nowhere.
So I went no contact with my family, my parents more specifically, and it's been like the best decision I've ever made. It's been 6 months and I cannot believe that much time has passed, but I have never been happier in my life. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I've been so incredibly afraid. And it's hard to describe exactly what I'm afraid of. If you grew up with narcissists, you probably know what I'm talking about. You just are so used to being under their control. You're maybe afraid of what they'll think of you because their opinion is like the most important thing growing up. I felt like the world was gonna end if I stood up for myself, but that is so backwards, and I needed a reality check. And that reality check was cutting my parents off and seeing what the world looks like, what my life looks like without their input. In these past 6 months, my self-esteem and self-worth has skyrocketed. My productivity has also improved, and I'm enjoying life a lot more. Like everything I do, every single thing, I actually find joy in it now because it's not being judged every single day. No one's questioning the validity of my TikToks or whatever the fuck I want to do, or if I want to bake bread for my husband. Like nobody is like, is that really what you want to do with life? Like, bitch, maybe it is. Maybe that is what I want to do. Maybe I do want to just bake bread all the time. Anyway, if you've been thinking about cutting off your toxic ex or your parents because they make you feel like shit and they're basically stagnating your life, you should do it because it doesn't have to be forever, but you probably just need like a little break or something from them. Honestly, like I highly recommend it because you will be so much happier when you just focus on yourself for a little bit.
If you are a parent and your adult children have decided to go no contact with you and you are watching this video, know that it is 100% your fault that your adult children no longer talk to you because they've seen the way that you treated them as children, and possibly they may even have children that they don't want to expose the same kind of lifestyle that they grew up with to their own children. A lot of cases I've seen when I came out about my story about how I went no contact with my biological parents, everybody was coming for my neck saying, oh, well, it's your parents, then you should continue that relationship. They brought you everything. They brought you into the world. Let me tell you something. Having children, as someone who wants to have children, is 100% selfish. The child did not ask to come into this world at all. You selfishly brought that child into the world, and therefore it is 100% your responsibility to take care of them and give them a fair childhood. If you decide to forfeit doing so, and you give your children a bad childhood, or you subject them to abuse, or malnourishment, or simply don't take care of your children, and now as adults they've decided not to be in contact with you anymore, you have failed them as a parent. And if you are the adult that has decided to go no contact with your parents, you are doing the right thing, and do not let anybody tell you otherwise.
What was your final straw that made you go no contact with your parent? I'll tell you mine. You would think that it'd be the time that my dad passed away and my mom decided that a NASCAR race was more important to go to than to go with her 16-year-old daughter to that wake. Crazy enough, it wasn't. Maybe that time that she decided that my baby brother's high school graduation just wasn't important enough to get up from the bed because she was too tired to watch him walk. Wait, no. It was actually years later when she became a grandmother. And I realized in that moment, watching my nephew, who I adored, and he didn't know who his grandma was. She came over for Christmas one day, and I know it was a little petty of me, But I asked Rowan, I said, what's my name? And he says, Aunt Jen. And I pointed at my sister and I said, what's her name? And he says, Aunt Brooke. And I pointed at my mom and I said, what's her name? And he says, Sam? He doesn't even know his grandma. And I knew in that moment that we will never matter to her as much as she matters to herself. And so, at that moment, I went no contact. And since that moment, it's been a lot of struggles, a lot of pain, but damn do I feel better.
I started going no contact with my parents about 2 to 3 years ago, and then fully went no contact with my parents last year this time. And it has been probably one of the best decisions I have ever made. Around the same time that I started going no contact with my parents, I also started therapy because I truly believed that I was the problem. I was the only common denominator within my family relationship. To nobody's surprise but myself, because apparently I wasn't let in on the secret, but I was not the problem, my parents were. I started learning about emotionally mature parents, gaslighting, narcissistic personality disorder, alienation, all of those types of things, and how that showed up in my childhood and even into my adult life, and how that influenced every single decision I made. Fast forward to now, we're coming up onto the 1 year anniversary of being fully no contact with my parents, which for the most part, they've been respectful of me not wanting to talk to them because they don't want to talk to me either. Because last year I had a video go viral on a previous page that outed them as shitty people, and they didn't like that. So other than that, only one of my parents actually have tried to reach out to me over the past year, and every time they try to make contact, I save the message that they send me, I reinforce that I don't want to talk to them, and then I block them off of whatever method they're using to talk to me, and they still don't get it. This same parent has also made multiple social media accounts to stalk me online, as well as spread lies to my other family members to try to make them hate me. Honestly, the behaviors just reinforce the reasons why I am no contact with these individuals. But since going no contact for myself, I feel like I am finally learning who I am as a person, because I don't question what these people are going to think of when I make these decisions. I am looking into different career paths. I'm exploring different types of fashion. I am getting into different types of hobbies. I've created a list of goals that I have for myself for my 30s that have nothing to do with anybody else. And if nobody participated in any of these projects with me, it doesn't matter, because it's not about anybody else but me. And that's something I can truthfully say is happening for the first time in my life. My marriage has improved. My children are happier. We get along better. We're spending more quality time together, and none of my children feel like they're in competition with each other. Honestly, at the end of the day, if you're contemplating going no contact, go no contact. Go to therapy, cut ties, work on yourself. You will be amazed on how much your mental health, as well as the mental health of those around you, improve.
A lot of people have been talking about the trend of going no contact with parents, as if it's something that's been concocted between therapists and evil children. And a lot of times people seem to have the perspective, but they're your parents, it's your family. But what's not being acknowledged is that the people who are going no contact with their parents have often spent a lot of years trying to build a healthier relationship. A lot of times when the children are trying to have conversations with those parents, to try and have honest conversations about the abuse they experienced in their childhood, and getting their parents to take some ownership over how damaging their behaviour has been towards them. And to say, this is what happened and this is how it affected me. Those parents say, no, it didn't, or it's actually your fault, or you don't have the right to speak to me that way. It's really weird to me that there is this narrative that parents are just owed their children's love and respect. Parents are people. I'm a parent. If my children had a conversation with me and told me that my behaviour was damaging them, I would change my behaviour because I care about my children. If my children are telling me that my behaviour is damaging them, I don't get to say that it isn't. They're the ones who can tell me how they are feeling and how my behaviour is impacting them, because they're actual people over there. And if parents don't want to hear, they don't want to reflect about how their behaviour is impacting on their own children, then maybe that is why your children do not want to be in contact with you.
I navigate the world as though my mom passed away. I don't tell people she's dead, obviously, because I could always just unblock her and call her. I could always just, I know her address. I know, but I know what's going to happen if I open up that door. We're going to catch up. We're going to cry. We're going to apologize. And then 3 months later, we're going to be in the same exact space. And my nervous system can't handle that shit no more. So I navigate the world as though my mom passed away. When I miss her, I listen to the music that she used to listen to when I was a kid. I take opportunities to prop her up where I can. I always make sure to give my mom credit where it's deserved. I'm a person who loves birthdays because of my mother. My mother loves birthdays, and my mom always made birthdays special. You know, she has great qualities about her, but those qualities don't outweigh the ways that she could have been a better person.
It don't like overshadow the harm.
So it's not worth it. The other side of that coin is not worth the good side. So I just had to kind of I just navigate the world as though she's gone.
I think that's an interesting concept because I think for a lot of people, there's this fear, right, of I have to continue having a relationship with this person because someday they could die, right?
Yeah.
And what will I feel if this person passes away and we weren't on good terms and I lose them and I lose out this relationship? But why doesn't that person feel guilty about the potential that I could pass away and they treated me like shit?
Exactly. And that's what I came to is like, she doesn't give a damn how she's treating me.
When